I just wonder what it's like. You live such a public life and such a high-profile show. What is it like to have to deal with something so personal in front of everybody and talk openly about it?
Well, I wanted to be honest with the public when I made my very first announcement about my health because I knew the story would get out and I wanted to be in control of how the story got out. I wanted our viewers who are interested in my well-being, I'm sure, to get the facts straight from the horse's mouth and not with any embellishments, not with any errors or fake news, whatever. And since then, I haven't been called upon too often to speak in public, but I wanted to keep the audience apprised of what was going on, and if there were changes in my condition or my treatment process, I wanted them to know about it. So every month or so, if there's a change, I let the folks know. It doesn't bother me one bit to keep them informed because the viewers of Jeopardy are like family to me. I mean, we've been together for 35 years. They know me very well, and I know them very well because of all the mail I've received. I've received hundreds of thousands of cards and letters over this current health situation that has blown me away. Blown me away, one, because I realized that America is a more religious society than I had given it credit for, and two, that there are so many good people out there who want to express themselves to you in a positive way if you're hurting. And if you're somebody who is friendly on television and appears to be a nice guy, they want to do so even more. And gosh, there's no downside to that.
Well, that's interesting that you mentioned the religion and perhaps if I can push it further to spirituality. Do you go to that at all when dealing with this?
No, not too much. I say that my wife is the spiritual one in our family, and she always argues and says, no, you're spiritual also, you just don't want to admit it. I'm more of a fatalist. I deal with the realities, and I try to cope as best as I can with what's going on as it is happening. And I try not to allow worrisome thoughts into my brain about what could happen. Hey, I'm not going to let you live rent-free in my head. So I'll deal with whatever it is when it happens.
So you've mentioned your wife, and I've met her a number of times. She's an adorable person. I met your daughter, wonderful. What does your family say about you being so, well, continuing to work for one thing, when you could be conserving your energy, and secondly, being so public about this?
One of the things I think that disappoints my family is that I'm not more outgoing about what they think I'm feeling over all of this. They're not quite certain that it's exactly as I am portraying it, because I don't communicate that much. I make announcements every month or so about my health, but that's about it. I don't go around saying, well, hey.
But what are the positives then of being so public about what you're dealing with and being open about what you're dealing with?
Well, first of all, that I hope I'm an influence out there, because I'm constantly getting mail from people who say, I've just been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, or my friend has just been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, doesn't know how to deal with this. Could you maybe drop him a line? Could you maybe pick up a phone and call this lady and talk to her? And in the last 2 or 3 days, I've had to do that 4 or 5 times with people. And what I tell them is the same thing that I've been saying since day one. Just make up your mind that you're going to be a cancer survivor. Be optimistic. There are going to be bad days, and understand that you'll deal with them. They won't kill you right then, but and if I can be this positive influence out there, I'm in the public eye, as you mentioned, so if I can help these people who are suffering the same as I am suffering. I'm taking the same drugs they're taking. I'm not getting any special treatment. No one has come out of the closet with, here's the wonder drug that only you can have. It doesn't work that way. I've had immunotherapy, which didn't work at all. And it's the same immunotherapy treatment that thousands of people are getting and doing well with. So you never know. Just, hey, try to be as positive as you can and relish the fact that you've had another day. That's a pretty good deal. Whenever you can have another day to enjoy with your family, your friends, and your work environment. I mean, some people are amazed that I still want to do the show and that I still come here to tape shows. This is my job. This has been my life. My whole career has been in television, hosting programs. I like doing this. Why wouldn't I want to continue to do this as long as I can?
Fantastic. So I did want to ask you this about the gentleman, Larry Martin. Larry Martin, one of your champions, was supposed to be here, but he passed away from pancreatic cancer. How does that weigh on you? What do you think about when you think of him and hear that?
Well, we knew he was suffering. We lost another Jeopardy champion a year earlier to cancer. It grieves us. We are going to do a little tribute to Larry during the Tournament of Champions. It makes me more aware of the fragility of life and how very important it is to embrace life while you have it, and pray that you get to embrace it more and more.
Okay, last question, and it has just nothing to do with health, but you started the show in 1984, you've broken records. If you take yourself back to then and your first show here, what were your expectations when you started back then compared to what it's actually turned out to be today?
I had no expectations whatsoever. I was happy to have a new job. As I look at the first few programs of Jeopardy that went on the air in syndication, I say, oh my gosh, slow down, Alex, slow down, you're going too fast. And little by little, we caught on. At first, we weren't a guaranteed success whatsoever. I mean, one of the stations, I believe it was Channel 2, was airing us at midnight. And then they started airing us in the afternoon, and then Channel 7 picked us up. We weren't doing well. These syndicators came to me. I was producing for the first 3 years, and in the first few weeks they said, oh gosh, the material is way too tough, way too tough. You've got to ease the material or we are not going to succeed. I said, I'll do it. They didn't realize that we were taping 3, 4, 5 or 6 weeks in advance. So I didn't change anything. But 3 weeks later I said, well, what do you think? Do you like the changes I made to ease the material? They said, great, it's working fine, Alex. They didn't know. And I was happy to be working. And I was having a good time. And because I was producing, I was making decisions that affected how the game would play. And that pleased me no end. And little by little, over the years, we caught on, thanks to the help of Wheel of Fortune also, because they were our lead-in in many of the markets, and they were already well established. So I'm not going to minimize their influence in our success.
That's great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I'm sorry. Should we get just one Tournament of Champions question?
Okay.
Just one, I'm sorry.
I just didn't want to eat
No.
up too much of your time. But of course, James gets so much attention. But what are your thoughts going in to see all these champions together? And what do you anticipate this tournament going to be like?
I think this is going to be one of our more exciting tournaments, particularly because of James's involvement and the great success he had last year. But in terms of making predictions based on how the contestants did in their appearances on the program, it is foolish beyond belief to even attempt to do that. I would point out that in our very first Tournament of Champions, the player who won it was someone who had barely qualified to be in the tournament. Barely qualified. He's the only one who got the final Jeopardy right in the deciding game. And so you never know. Don't try to predict, folks. If you have somebody who is your favorite because you watched them and you said, gosh, she's good and I like her. Oh, she beat James. I wonder how she'll do in the Tournament of Champions. Just enjoy them and say, yeah, I'm cheering for good people.